Okay, let's get started. So first, a little about the pilot idea. We talked about this in town hall in November or December, the idea of having the community pick a puzzle of the week. And we actually ran that vote. And based on that vote, we picked a puzzle by Zana. It's an existing puzzle from 4.5, 5 years ago. At that time, it had only had about 7 solvers, and people voted for it. It was posted. We sent you out information about that. 17 people have now solved that, which is very gratifying. And it also should show the community that your skills may be more powerful than you think, and there may be fun and interesting puzzles in that backlog of player puzzles. The agenda for my presentation, I'm going to go through some concepts for puzzle solving, then some specific technique that I like to use on each puzzle. Then I'll actually do a live demo of solving Ozark. And if we have time, I think we probably will, assuming I don't get caught in the 10% of the times I don't solve it. I will also show you what I call the accordion approach, and I'll show you that on a different puzzle. And then we'll conclude, and we should still have time for Digital Embrace's presentation about the current lab. So hopefully that's the flight you thought you were getting on. First, let's talk about, there's a nice view of our 3D presentation, which is emerging this year. Okay, so let's go forward. So first concept, one of the most important concepts in puzzle solving is there is an answer. And when I say almost always, the exceptions are some labs where we try out ideas where we don't know if what we're trying is achievable, or if the puzzle is actually marked impossible or impossible with a question mark. But outside of those situations, if you're on a puzzle and it's not a special lab, it's not marked impossible, somebody has already found an answer. And that's really helpful to know that the structure you're trying to create can be created in Eterna. And more often than not, there's more than one way to solve a puzzle. So don't assume that because someone else tells you how they solved it, they've got the only answer. Eterna is fundamentally an energy game, right? We have to understand the idea of negative versus positive energy scores in the kilocalories. When we're looking at our energy meters, positive energy means like similarly signed magnets that the molecules want to fly apart. Negative energy is the convention of they want to stick together. And the more of that energy you've got, the tighter your puzzle wants to hold together. You all, I think, understand the difference between natural versus target mode. You have to understand the strength of the pairs, how they face, what their nearest neighbors are. Many of the energy models are highly driven off of what's right next to the molecule you're looking at, the pair you're looking at, or a single base. We're going to talk about boost. That's pretty important in the Zana puzzle, where they don't show up, where interactions between the molecules, between the bases, don't generate two-dimensional structure, but they do give you something in 3 dimensions, and more importantly, they give you something for us solving in energy. It's very helpful to be paying attention to the total energy, the delta, and the energy on the screen, in the structures, between the pairs, in loops and bulges and in hooks. And keep an eye out, obviously, for short stacks, bulges, or stacks that are supporting many, many arms. Those are weak places, and they usually need some reinforcement from extra strong pairs. This screen came from a question I asked Broad, or Boris Rudolphs, and it's something maybe most of you know. I apologize if I'm telling you things you already know. Eterna and solving is a progressive kind of approach, which is we don't actually have the bottom, which is we go from in the bottom there's a picture of a puzzle that's unsolved, pushing the limit, to completely solved in a single step. It just tends not to happen that way. Instead, by progressive, I mean we make a series of incremental, step-by-step, small step decisions, one at a time, getting the puzzle closer and closer and closer until it's solved. And that's what I've shown you up here, particularly a fun sequence that I encountered on the puzzle called Pushing the Limit. One of the things you might think about as we talk about puzzle solving being progressive and having these constant small steps is there a guide or a compass or something that can help you know whether you're getting closer or not? The delta energy meter between natural and target is extremely helpful in identifying the likely path that says you are getting closer. I use it all the time. You'll see me use it today. You can test moves out, and if not, you have an undo. You can undo what I call a logical move. And a logical move might be more than one mutation. For example, if you had a loop and you were changing its boost, it might take you multiple mutations to change the boost. So think of a move not as just a single mutation, but more as a cluster of what are you trying to do. The red lines in the puzzle are very helpful. I showed this little picture here. I love this one because it's like base 105 is highlighting there's a possibility of a block out here. If you don't have the red lines on, you won't necessarily see that that item is misfolding very easily. And it's very quick to look at it if the red lines are on. It's one of the reasons we've asked them. Astromon suggested that they be incorporated into Puzzle Maker as well. Finally, the shape icon is helpful. It's nice, it's evocative, but it's not as reliable as the delta meter. The delta meter will help you when you're not sure which way to go. And sometimes even if the shape meter is lighting up more white, if the delta meter is telling you it's worse, trust the delta meter. Last item, this one, a common question people have asked and I've asked, which is why is it sometimes when you get to zero, like over here, zero difference, my puzzle isn't solved? And the answer is because Eterna rounds to 1 decimal, and it might be that the numbers are not really different, not really the same when we go out beyond 1 decimal. Okay, questions so far on any of the concepts I talked about? How are we doing on time? 12, okay. In case anyone, EternaCon has been announced. Thank you, Slava. Okay, so I take that, no questions. Let's move on to technique then. So how do I actually apply that? Well, I take a first look at a puzzle. First thing I want to know is what algorithm is it? The base of Eterna is Vienna 185. Knowing the algorithm is important because it affects the pair strengths, the boost, whether or not the super boost family is alive and possible or dead, whether or not GUs are almost impossible and very bad or useful. For example, if new pack or Eternafold is there, GUs get very, very bad. Are there constraints? Anything unusual in the constraints? Like, does it say Eternabot, or we're trying to get a degradation score, something like that? And finally, I like to do an inventory of loops and structures and special items. And if there's repeats, I want to note that things are repeating because the models will try to solve things the same way that look the same way. So that's useful to know. If you can solve it once and then copy and paste or sequence stamp it in, easier. Okay, so big picture, what do I try to do? I try to solve for the shape. Anyone who doesn't have the shape and is working on constraints, for me, you're backwards. I solve the shape, then I deal with the constraints. I go with my obvious moves. So are there force moves? Like there's a locked base that forces, a locked cytosine that's going to pair with a guanine. Okay, make the obvious moves. And then while we're not looking at any switches today, The non-switching sections on any switches, those should also be filled in first. Then build a backbone. Sometimes I build my backbones out of AUs. Sometimes I build them out of GCs. Today, I'm going to build them out of GCs, even though we're not allowed to use many in this puzzle. Once I built a backbone, I watch for misfolds, and I diversify my shape one way or the other using different pairs to stop the misfolds. I solve the shape. If it's difficult, I use the accordion approach. I will explain that a little later in the presentation. I'll actually demonstrate that. I use that to isolate areas and fix misfolds. The accordion approach was suggested to me by Tesla's disciple and Hoglahu, who started using it, and they found Puzzle Maker was more powerful than just building a partial puzzle. So you'll see fewer puzzles marked partial, and more people will say, oh, I went to Puzzle Maker to solve that. And then lastly, I deal with constraints. Questions on the technique I use?
Well, I have only one
Please.
question. Is
Yes.
How to avoid the temptation of doing random moves just for lucky, to be lucky. It's very difficult when we are a little tired.
Okay, so I'm going to come back. It's a good question. And my answer is, if I make a move that doesn't get me closer to zero on this natural target delta meter, I often reverse it and say, nope, I don't want it. So the idea of having a compass or a guide in this delta meter helps keep you on a good path, one that's getting closer and closer progressively towards solving. Does this answer the question, or is this more that you need a cup of cafe sometimes?
No, yes, it's okay.
Okay. Other questions on the technique before I go to Zana's puzzle? Okay, that was enough preview. Let's go to the puzzle. So first of all, I am thankful that Astromon found this picture. I think he thought that Zana, who also comes from his home state of Kentucky, may have actually seen or been inspired by the waterfall. Is this in the Ozarks? Astromon? He's on mute, or is he going to talk? Oh, yeah. Okay, well, he says, yes, it is in the Ozarks. Okay, so I guess this triple kind of waterfall effect maybe was the inspiration behind Zana's puzzle. Okay, now, so at this point, I'm going to ask you as a community or as an audience, both, what strikes you about Zana's puzzle, which I'm going to open in my other screen over here. What strikes you about this puzzle? I'm going to open it now, but go ahead. Don't all shout at once.
It's symmetry.
Okay, it's symmetric. So that means we're going to have a bunch of misfolds. Yep, I'm going to use the explosion factor just a little to get rid of those overlaps down here, so you can see it a little better. Okay, it's got symmetry. Anything else? What sticks out? What's right in your face in this puzzle? It has a lot of
filled with two loops.
Yes, thank you. Give that man a cigar if we were still smoking. That's right. There are 18 2-2 loops. So what does that mean? Go ahead. Are we in regular Eterna or are we in new pack? We're in regular, which means there's the possibility of doing super boosts. And boy, I'm going to try it, because if I can do super boost, there's going to be lots of energy available from all those super boosts in the 2-2 loops. Okay. Anything else you see? We got these four-way intersections here. We have some three-way T intersections here, and we have two triloops down here, which cannot be boosted by themselves, but no big worry, they're right next to some 2-2 loops to give extra energy to the pair that needs to close these triloops. And then the rest of this puzzle has tetraloops, right? Let's go back to this here. So this is what I said. This puzzle, there are probably hundreds of solutions. So my first look, as I just said to you, it wants only 3 GCs. And that's actually, turns out that's a remarkably useful thing to know, because if I have something that has 3 or 4 or 5 of them, I know I'm not going to be using GCs to solve them. I'm going to look for other solutions. There's the 18 loops, there's 5 hairpin tetra loops, which I mentioned, right? 1, 2, can you see my cursor or not? Someone say yes or no.
Yes.
Good. So the hairpin loops, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5th one down here. Should I make this bigger or is it big enough? Bigger? Better this way or this way?
Second,
Okay, like smaller, like this?
for me, yeah.
Okay.
Smaller.
All right. So we can see the whole puzzle. Fine. Okay. So having looked at that, and now I'm going to look at my own little sheet of what I wanted to tell you. Okay. So now I'm going to show you an analysis of some 2-2 loops. Okay. So here we are in Puzzle Maker. And I made a conclusion with 18 2-2 loops. I thought to myself, if I've only got 3 GCs, what does it mean I'm going to close my 2-2 loops with? AUs mostly, or UGs. Agreed? Because if I needed a GC to solve that, I would need 18 GCs or maybe 36. Agreed? With me? So what I did was I did a little study of the different, this is 4 different permutations. Here, the adenines are both on top on the AU. Here, the adenines are both on the bottom. Here, this one's on top, this one's on the bottom. Here, they're reversed. Now, what do you see up here in the shape box, which I'll show you here? Guess what? What's happening? Someone say something. Can you see them coming together?
Yes.
Yes? So, have you ever had that happen in a puzzle where what you want is a super boost? You want all that extra energy from those crossed UGs, but they end up coming together very annoyingly. Yes? Have you had this in a puzzle? I have. So I said, how can I get rid of it? And I figured out, just from playing with it here, that if I put in 1 UG, that'll solve any of these. So if I go this way, it solves it. If I go this way, it solves it. I go this way, it solves it, or this way. And I have this added surprise. Let me just leave this one solved, which is when I put a UG on these other ones, what's happening to them? If the answer you said is nothing, you win the prize. They stay okay. So I decided when I went to solve the puzzle, Ozark, which had all those 2-2 loops, which I wanted to be super boosted. And there's a whole family of choices. They're not just 1 2-2 boost, but this is the most common one, the one I'm showing you. I decided I would have every one of my 2-2s, if possible, have an AU on one side and a UG on the other side. Does that make sense to people? Does this make sense to people?
Yes.
I heard an I take that's a yes.
Yes, it was mine.
Okay.
It was mine.
Okay. So,
but I saw that there was no change of the energy of the loop. It was always 2.1.
yes, and that's a profound, and it's why I remember what I said about it being an energy game and that the models are sensitive to what's next to them. So
Ah.
even though the energy didn't change, the structure changed, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay. Yes.
you're exactly right. The energy's 2-1. And you'd think, oh, the energy, nope. The energy doesn't look any different that we can see to 1 decimal, but the structure is quite different.
Okay.
Correct. Good. Okay, so I've shown you, show puzzle maker. Okay, let's go to slide 15 now. So here's what, this is what I said. This is what I learned. I summarized it. There's 4 permutations. 3 of them work fine. In theory, you wouldn't need to play with them, but every so often, one of them's ugly. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Here's my game plan. Okay, so now if you've ever seen a baking show where they put things in the oven, I'm going to do a little of that on these first few moves, but I hope that this is not there's no magic here. All I'm doing is saving time in the presentation. So the first thing I'll do is go to the puzzle, and I'm going to grab a sequence. This is going to be my first, whoops, I don't. Let's try that again. Control C, it'll let me. There we go. Okay. And so first thing I'm going to do is the super boosts. So I'm going to just paste in one giant move, but just to make sure we all know what I did, even though I did it really quickly, because I threw in 64, right? 72, sorry. I threw in 72 mutations at once, but everyone can see all I did was throw in the super boosts. Agreed? So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for saying, whoever said yes, thank you. Okay, now, so the next thing I want to do is I've got 5 of these tetra loops, right? 1 on each of these corners and 1 way down here at the bottom. Well, again, if the tetra loops needed a GC, I would need 5 GCs, but I'm only allowed 3. So I come to the same stupid conclusion, which is I should make that an AU. And yeah, you can get fancy and make that a Gaga, for those of you who know what it is. But I found this puzzle had so much energy, it didn't even need that. So my next move is to put in an AU to close each of these tetra loops and to boost it with the usual GA boost. So I'm going to come back and pick up my next sequence just to do that. It'll get more interesting in a moment, I promise. Okay, now I'm going to paste in the same. So this is step 2. So now hopefully you can see that I've added an AU closer to each of the 5 tetra loops, and I've added the boosting G to mismatch with the A in its correct spot for best energy. And okay, everyone say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay, now the third move, the most questionable move I'm going to do today. Some people don't like this idea, but I'm going to show you how it worked for me. My next move is I set a backbone. My backbone, I'm going to put in all GCs, even though this puzzle only allows 3. Sounds stupid, but I'm going to do it because I like the fact that when I solve the puzzle with that way, and I often will, that I get the correct number of pairs. Sometimes the puzzle will say you're allowed 100, you must have 100 AUs. And I always want to know how many pairs are there. So now I just threw in all GCs. I didn't put them one way or another. I just threw them in. Has everyone seen the puzzle now? How close is the puzzle to being solved for shape?
Yes.
Yes,
It looks
yes,
like
no.
it's mostly solved except for like parts in the middle, based on
Thank you.
the objective.
That's what I said too. I said, look at that. I said, the target delta meter is telling me I'm only 2 away from getting the shape. Now, mind you, I have way too many GCs, but we'll deal with that right in front of you. Okay, so let's do what was that Slava talking?
Yes,
Or
that was me.
Okay, good. All right, so let's deal with these center 4-way intersections. And let's see, last time I tried this, and I've solved this multiple different ways. Okay, yeah, all right. We'll try it this way. So I like having these not crossed. So because they're across from each other, so I don't want them to. And let's put these here and let's reverse these, I guess. And if I have to reverse them, there are multiple ways to solve that. Did it fix it? It didn't. But remember what I said, what was our lesson on the 2 2s? Do you remember? What did we say? Someone said, aha.
Yes, yes.
Jorge.
Uh,
What was the trick with the
was.
2 2s? Get a UG. So let's back up all of these things with UGs. Okay,
Okay, okay.
get ready. It's very complicated. Oh, there. How about that way? And let's see. Oh, I didn't do this one yet. Oh, okay. Boom. So there's the shape. Okay, can I walk away? Am I done? No, not yet. I have to get rid of 29 GCs. That may seem hard, but it's actually pretty easy. Okay, but what I want to do now is I want to pause for a second. What I want to tell you is the shape here, there's multiple ways to solve it. You can use, obviously I didn't use GC in it because I only have 3. So I looked for a solution that used AUs. You can also use UG, and as you can see, the AUs, here I've got the blue on top, here I've got the yellow on top. This puzzle is so full of energy, there's lots of different ways to solve that. Does everyone understand so far what I've done?
Yes, it's okay.
Good, thank you. Okay.
But when you change the GC pair for a AU,
Yes,
the structure will be the
Weaker.
same or
weaker. That's okay. But in this case, it folds properly. So this structure here, when we were back, before I did that, let me just go backwards here to this. 116.2 total energy. Now with all those AUs in there, 86.4, much, much weaker, but I'm happier as the puzzle solver because I have the shape. Okay?
yes.
Okay, now I want to go back to my PowerPoint for just a second. So Broad also, so I've done this. I did the 2 2s. I did the typical boost in the tetraloop. I put in GCs. I just did the 4-way intersection. You with me so far? Where, oh, back up. Okay, and I now want to do the T intersection, which I have a picture of here. This is the strong common way that I solve T intersections. Broad, again, Boris Rudolph's helped me with this long ago and far away. I had a puzzle, it was driving me crazy. And I just didn't know the pattern. And he said, Leonard, here's the pattern. And I went, oh, okay. So he showed me this nice pattern with a CG here, a AU here, a UG here. And sometimes this is optional, this right here, 31, to sometimes you need to block this from bonding. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. The red lines help you know. So what I did was I went in Puzzle Maker and said, well, okay, if I've got some T intersections and I don't want to waste my 3 precious GCs on intersections, just like I didn't want to waste them in the middle, can I solve this without using a GC? So I did the obvious. I tried to put in an AU right here. And guess what? It worked fine. It's weaker. It's weaker by 1.5 kilocalories, right? This one's a 3.7. This one's a 5.2, but it holds together. So I went, right, I'm going to apply that. So my next move logically on this puzzle is go solve the T intersections using that structural pattern. Here, 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 here. I'm not looking at the energy. I'm still part of the same move right now. So the energy probably is getting worse at the moment, the delta. So I'm not looking at my compass yet. I'm trying to do this. Okay, so are they completely solved? Not sure. Well, are they misfolding? Yes, the red lines tell me this one's misfolding here, tells me this one's misfolding here. Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Okay, now, remember my goal was to back up these things with UGs. So these I've now played with some more of these. So let's do some more of that. What's happening? Boom, not the right way. How about that way? Okay. How about this way? All right, so now I've backed up. Now the T intersections are solved with non-GCs. We've backed them up to the 2 loops with my UG calming influence there. And the puzzle's still solved. And we got rid of a whole bunch of GCs and we're further along in the shape. Questions so far? I'm ready for my next logical move if people don't have any questions. Okay, so now the triloops. Now they can be pesky, but I'm going to try them with AUs. So I'm going to put an AU here. I can't boost them in Eterna fold. I can, by the way, if you don't know that. But in Vienna, the original one, I cannot boost triloops. So I'm going to see what I can do here with just backing them up. Not bad. They're not solved. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with the rest of the GCs and I'm going to just start throwing in some AUs, but remembering I still want to back things up with UGs if things get nasty anywhere. So let's see here. Where else do we have some? We've got one up here. Oh, that's nice. And let's see what else here. And by the way, every time I do this, it's not like I know where I'm going to play next. Okay, I've practiced this so I could do it for you, but every time I solve this, it's a little different. Okay, because I'm just literally just looking at it and going, how do I get rid of that? Okay, now that got worse. 3. Now I don't like that very much. Let's see if I can get better than that. Ooh, those are ugly. Let's go back to 299. I'll accept that. Let's solve this somewhere else here. It's just misfolding on me. There's 1-8, that's better. Here's this 2-2, doesn't have a nice calming UG on it yet. Let's try that. That didn't make any difference that way. That did. Did you notice how nice it was? There you go. Again, there you have it. He says, okay, now we're down to 5 GCs. And hopefully, let's see, this guy's extra. He doesn't, oh, he's a 0, huh? Let's just try a little change to get him. Oh, I'm bad. This is my case where I was explaining I would back out things that didn't seem to help. So 0, I like. I want to, there. Okay, fine. Now I'm down to 4. Okay, so which one do I think is least needed of the 4 GCs? There's 2 on this row, so I'm figuring maybe only 1. This one up here, I have had sometimes I've gotten rid of it. One player announced in the comments they had solved this puzzle with 0 GC. I have regularly solved it with 3, occasionally with 2. I haven't bothered going in to solve it with 0. It is certainly possible. And again, remember where I started with the concept. Once you know somebody has done it, it can be achieved. It's all a question of how much time you want to spend. Okay, let me try to get rid of this one. 2-1 that way, 0.3 that way. Let's see if we spin this, if it gets a little better. 0.6, I don't really like that. That doesn't look very good. What about the other guy? 0.7, 19, 11. Okay, but when I spun 0.7, a lot of other places misfolded. That's actually good in this case because there's a 1. Now I'm down to 1/10. Okay, and I still have some options of places that doesn't look good. Let's see. How about this guy? Doesn't help him. Let's see. How about down here? It's misfolding there. Nope. Not really. Maybe we'll have one of the 10% of the times I don't solve it easily. Well, I danced in front of you. Hold on. 1, 5. 3 is worse. Nah, I don't like that. How about this guy? 1, 3 is better. 1, 1. Nope. 49 100ths. About the same. Okay. Let me put him back for a moment. That doesn't help. I have to go all the way back if I want to undo it. Let's see. Let's try this. Nope. Nope. Let's try a reversal up here. Nope. 7, maybe I'll accept that. 4/10, 1/3, 8/10. And let's look. There's actually a blocking opportunity there, which I just got rid of. Okay. 1/10. Let's see. Nope, not him. Now I'll do something really weird. How about this? 3/10. Notice normally I wouldn't play with structures I've solved, but I'm a little annoyed because I've solved this so many times the other way. Okay.
Can I ask a question, Leonard?
Please do.
Just, I mean, you are a much better puzzle solver than I, but
Yeah.
when you got down to 0.1 and it included the
Let's go back to it.
central,
Yep.
the misfolding part included the central CG, I just would have naturally gone and just flipped the CG, that central CG. And I'm wondering whether you somehow knew that that wasn't going
Nope.
to be.
No, I've done, each time I've solved it, it's different. Your question's a good one. Let's just go backwards to this. So you want this one? This one, you
Okay.
mean?
That, yes, that is, no, you just, I was flipping it to, reversing, swapping the two bases.
This one gets me close. This apparent, I might choose to give up here rather than keep annoying people, but we'll see. This, as I said, we'll see which one. This one probably, let's do these because that gives me some more places it's misfolding. I could actually, there's complicated blocks through there. Those are not helpful. Let's see what is helpful. Switching this. Right now, if I was really, I could look and say, well, okay, where are the biggest places that are misfolding? That's not, and again, I'm watching the delta meter each time to see if I like what's happening with the move I'm thinking about. .8. 4/2 is bad. 4/2 is bad. 1/8 is bad. How about down here again? .9 I might take just to see if I get something a little different in this. Okay, we're gonna tell you what, we're gonna stop because for now you can trust me that I have done it, alas, and that this is one of the 10% of the times, since I happen to be dancing in front of you, that it just didn't work out. And I don't have an ease, and these are crossed, which is bad. Anyway, that will solve. And this is the main way people solve the puzzle. I can paste in a solution, you can look at a solution, but I don't think that's actually the point here. The point here is, how do you get yourself to the place where just a few flips, even if I can't find those few flips right at the moment, right? I'm one away from the constraint here. And, maybe I'd even go in a last desperate attempt. I might go up there. That doesn't look too good, but it might work. Nah, not that one. So anyway, so let me stop. I want to talk a little bit about the accordion approach, which I want to go. Let me go back to my PowerPoint, which is hello, is one more time here. Okay, so, and obviously I got this the last time I did it, and I took a screenshot of it. So, okay, now the accordion approach. Now, what I do is I beam the puzzle maker, I add extra pairs when I'm having problems, and then I use that to isolate problems if I can, or if not, make things much easier. I solve the shape, I record the work, I list the length of the puzzle. At that point, it might have grown by, if I put in 5 new pairs, it's grown by 10 bases. The dot parentheses notation, I copy that out of Puzzle Maker. I copy the sequence. Then I subtract a pair one at a time, using the energy meter to find the best one to remove. I solve it again, and usually the misfolds become a little more obvious. And I record my work and I keep subtracting until I get to the original puzzle length. Then I paste it back into the original puzzle right now to get the red line feature. I finish the solve. Let me show you an example of that. How are we doing on time? Okay. So this, I've put in Puzzle Maker. This is a particular puzzle from a current player, and it only has, I think, 3 or 4 solvers. It's quite annoying because it misfolds rather badly. And of course, it misfolds badly because of my propensity to put in GCs, right? I want to get a lot of it solved really fast, but then I run down and it's got these funny triangle shaped intersections, and I'm kind of stuck at 0.3. And what I was thinking, and now I'll look at my little cheat sheet here. What I was thinking was I was actually interested in the neighbors to this intersection here, which is not folding correctly. And what I like to do, I think I'd like to have a yellow one and a blue one here, an AU. Oh, that misfolds up to these guys, up these arms up here. You can see it in the shape. So that doesn't work. And I also would like to have these two pointing the same way. They're stronger. I go from 2.4 to 3.3. But again, it doesn't work. It just misfolds. So I go, all right, I can't stand this puzzle. It's driving me crazy. What am I going to do? So having beamed it over to Puzzle Maker, which I'm already at, I add some pairs. I'm going to add 3 new pairs to this puzzle. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. And I chose this arm because it was one of the ones that was misfolding. So I said, well, let's see if that makes my life a little easier. And well, okay, with all those extra bases there, it's now that arm is solved. And I've gone from 0.3 to 0.1. Okay, now I say, now I'm ready. Now I can go make my move. Oh, no, I can't. It misfolds again. It goes right past me. And so I look up at the places it's misfolding to. Whoops, there was misfolding there, sorry. When I did that move, and it's misfolding up these 2 arms. And I kind of like the fact that some of these are already solved. I don't really want to play with the intersection points, but I see some AUs here. So I'm going to flip both these AUs. Okay, I'm still at .1. I didn't improve my target delta at all, but maybe, and this one I'm cheating because I know what worked. I tried 3 or 4 different choices, but now when I do the yellow one here, it's not misfolding the yellow at this one. And when I try this red one, aha, I get the shape. Now, this may seem like a small victory because I have the shape, but I have the shape with 3 extra pairs in, which are not part of the regular puzzle. Are you with me so far? You understand what I've done? Someone say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Thank you. You're a good audience. All right. So now I want to look for getting some out. So let's see. So right now I've solved it at 146, and I need to get it down to 140. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I know I put them in here, I'm going to actually just evaluate some different choices. So I'm going to say, what if I take this guy out? 0.8. What if I take this guy out? 1.2. I'm watching the delta meter. What if I take this? Oh, how's that? If I take that one out, there's no problem. It's still solved. Guess what? I just found my first move of the 3 to get it out. Now I'm going to find this one. Whoops. I'm not going to find that one. Let me go back. Take this guy out. Okay, let's try again. Take this one out, 2, 1. Take this one out, 0.8. Take this one out, 0.8. Okay, I'll take that. That's the best I've got of those 3 choices, right? We were choices 2, 1, 0.8, or 0.8, which is the same because it's either way, it's collapsing one of the AUs facing that way. All right, so at 0.8, it's pretty close to solved. Now I'm looking at where is it misfolding. Okay, so in this case, I happen to know that this guy right here, when I flip him, because I tried it, solved. Okay, now I'm still, what's my length? My length is still 142. I need to get to 140. Okay, so now I'm going to find, and I'm going to find 94, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to look at this guy and say 0.7 or 0.2. I want 0.2. That's my compass. It tells me remove that one. Now, I know my shape is solved, right? Because just a moment ago, it looked fine on all those funny intersections. Now, the only thing that's different is what? You say misfolds, right? It didn't get that much weaker. It's just misfolding all over the place. So I look for some places to see. I try this one. That gets close, doesn't solve it. I do this. Aha. Boom. Now, admittedly, this is a little faster than it really takes me because usually I have to try 3 or 4 to find where the misfolds are. And if you're, I'll put it back. Some people like to actually look at all the misfolds and say, ah, there's a misfold. That's a good place to play. But I kind of split the difference. And how are we doing? Okay, so we're getting near the end of what I want to show you. Good. Okay, so let's go back here. So now reviewing what I did. And then, by the way, from here, since it's now the same length as the original puzzle, 140, now I just take the answer and I do cut and paste, copy paste back to the original puzzle, and it's solved. Okay. And if I was a little unclear, I can get that red line feature by putting it before it's finally solved back in the original puzzle. Okay, wrap up time for me. So we talked about concepts. There always is an answer, or almost always. It's an energy game, and more energy, the more energy you can find to make things fold like super boost, the better. That's great. Understand that the energy is from the next bases or next pairs. It's a progressive process, and the delta meter is a good way to manage, help you with guidance or like a compass of how you're going on a lot of different things. For techniques, I do a first look, what algorithm, what special shapes. I do the obvious moves. I do the boosts. I build a backbone, either AUs or GCs. I use the accordion approach I showed you on that second puzzle. If it's needed, I fix the misfolds, and then I cope with constraints, except I didn't actually finish the last puzzle because I ended it sadly, and the 10% of the times I haven't solved it, with 4 GC instead of showing you I could actually squeeze it down to 3. You can do it if you experiment a little bit, use Puzzle Maker, use these approaches. That's it for me.